All right, good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Township of Wainfleet regular council meeting of February 4th, 2025 to order. Please stand for the national anthem. We would like to begin this meeting by acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples, acknowledging the One Bowl and Spoon Treaty. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, please note that these meeting proceedings are being broadcast live, recorded, and made available through the Township website and youtube.com. Our next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, February 25th at 6:30 p.m. Regional Council meets this Thursday. Are there any councilors' announcements or remarks? Seeing none. So we're going to move into the adoption of the previous council minutes. I have a motion that the minutes of the regular meeting of council held January 14th, 2025 be adopted as circulated. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Anderson, Councilor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. We have no public meetings this evening. We also have no delegations this evening. We have 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Those items are ASR 2-2025, respecting the 2024 development charges, ASR 3-2025, respecting the 2024 summary of tax adjustments, and ASR 4-2025, respecting the 2024 remuneration report. Are there any items that council wishes to be removed from the consent agenda for discussion? Seeing none. Okay, so then I have a motion that the following items be received and that the recommendations contained therein be approved and acted upon. ASR 2-2025, respecting the 2024 development charges. ASR 3-2025, respecting the 2024 summary of tax adjustments. And ASR 4-2025, the remuneration report. There you go. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Wainfleet, Councilor Anderson. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're moving into staff reports and recommendations. I've been advised that Chief Alcock has an officers meeting to attend this evening. If there are no objections from members of council, I'd like to consider his report first, so he is free to leave in time to meet his fire department commitment. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay, so then we will move into the fire staff report, FSR 1-2025, respecting the automatic aid agreement between Port Colborne and Wainfleet. Chief Alcock, could you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The purpose of this report is to let yourself and the public know As you may recall, in 2022, we entered into an automatic aid agreement with the City of Port Colborne for the delivery of fire protection services. That original agreement was a 2-year agreement that had a 1-year extension. 2024, we saw the discussions of shared service, so automatic aid wasn't really on the table at the time. Since Port Colborne has since moved away from the shared service model, the new chief that they have hired gave us notice that on January 15th, they were not renewing the automatic aid agreement. With that said, we will return to our operations similar to what we had before the automatic aid. Mutual aid still exists. We still deliver services to our community. It's just the pieces that were contained within the automatic aid agreement are no longer available to us.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So I have a motion that the Fire Staff Report FSR 1/2025 respecting the automatic aid agreement between Port Colborne and Wainfleet be received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Van Fleet, Councillor Anderson, any discussion? Councillor Van Fleet, go ahead.
It's not, I just want to thank the chief and his staff for all the work that you guys did with the shared services. I'm not sure everybody knows how many hours you guys put in, but you did, and I thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, we're going to move into building staff reports, BSR 1/2025, respecting summary of 2024 building activity. Mr. Hopkins, could you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you and good evening. Thank you, and through you, Mayor, and to all of Council, thanks for the opportunity to quickly highlight some of the numbers from my building staff report from last year. The number of building permits were up 18 permits from last year. Furthermore, building permit revenue, new dwellings, septic, and residential permits were all up from last year as well, 2023. And then while some of these numbers are lower than the 10-year historical average, we do hope that this upward trend is something that the department can build upon to once again reach some of the pre-COVID numbers. And looking forward to this year, the Lakewood development has continued to work towards substantial completion of the primary services and have expressed the intent to begin the building application process for new dwellings once they're permitted to do so. Also, based on recent conversations with developers, staff anticipate receiving applications for both the Marshville and the Bunns Lane development. Similar to previous years, the building department continues to improve on the mandated permit review turnaround times. Our staff's ability to process permits quickly depends on the quality of the application information and the required documents. Relying on knowledgeable design professionals always makes for a smoother application process and is always recommended to residents. And speaking with our bylaw staff from the STR bylaw, it was found that over last year, 9 septic permits were issued as a result of the short-term rental bylaw. Which is, what is additionally noteworthy is that some of these systems that were replaced were considered high risk and were most not likely working as per the OBC and quite possibly contributing to the health and environmental concerns along the lakeshore. As noted in the year-end report, 2025 brought an updated version of the OBC, which is now in effect as of January 1st. Staff feel that the transition should be relatively smooth as the code change was well advertised and inspectors, builders, and design professionals had significant time to prepare so that the transition wouldn't be difficult for residents. Staff will monitor the significant code changes specifically on agricultural buildings. These buildings saw the most restrictive code changes. And then to ensure that the permit fees cover the review and inspection of these buildings, we will monitor the work that's required in these new structures over the next 12 months. And I guess to end on a somewhat of a positive note, while it's not on the report, January of this year, 2025, we've seen the highest number of building permits issued and the highest number of permit revenue brought in for a January in the last 10 years and possibly longer. So based on these numbers and the anticipated start of some of the development in town, we feel that 2025 could very well be very busy for staff, and it's welcomed. And like always, with spring just around the corner, we ask residents to begin their building inquiries and begin the application process as soon as possible to ensure they have permits in hand for the good weather. And thanks, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. So I have a motion that the building staff report BSR 1/2025 respecting the summary of 2024 building activity within the Township of Wainfleet be received for information. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Anderson and Councillor Gilmore. Any discussion? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Ben, I'd like to thank you for the report. I, in particular, love graphs and numbers and math, so that makes me happy. And I'd just like to say for sure, during your report, you stated this, but I think it's quite a job of good service when, in fact, your turnaround times are within a remarkable less than the mandatory standards. So congratulations on that service level. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor, to all of council, that remains number one priority for myself, Joe, and Jesse of the building department to make sure those permits are done as fast as possible, properly, and out the door so people can begin their project. Just for some context, every year on average, about 35% of all of the applications we receive are considered a complete application. Maybe that speaks to maybe more residents relying on design professionals to help them through those processes, so the content that's submitted to the township is better. But yes, I would say, just to follow up on our timelines, each type of construction requires or allows for more review time. But even when considering all of those different types of classifications of construction, the last audit we did, we were able to issue permits in less than 4 business days. So significantly under the 10 business days, and in some cases 10, 15, 20, 30 days that were actually permitted to use to get those out. So those are the numbers, and I know staff are dedicated to make sure those numbers are on point and continue and hopefully maybe even improved upon. Thank you.
Any other discussion? No, seeing none, okay. I will call the question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay, we're going to move into the drainage staff reports. DSR 1/2025 respecting the Northeast Consolidated Drains number 2 and 4 engineering report update. Mr. Jameson, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to all of council. So this staff report provides an update on the engineering report that was completed by Spreed Associates for the improvement project on the Northeast Consolidated Drains number 2 and number 4. So this project was initiated in 2022 through a request by a property owner. Public meetings were held in compliance with the Drainage Act in October of 2022 and September of 2024, and there are many other follow-up meetings with property owners and the engineer. So the engineers filed the report with the township. So the recommendation is to direct the report to the consideration meeting as per Section 41 of the Drainage Act, which will invite all the property owners to come to the meeting and discuss the project. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. So I have a motion that drainage staff report DSR 1/2025 respecting the Northeast Consolidated Drains number 2 and 4 be received, and that staff be directed to advance the Northeast Consolidated Drains number 2 and 4's engineer's report for consideration at the February 25th, 2025 council meeting as per the timelines outlined in Section 41, Chapter D, 17 of the Drainage Act, RSO 1990. Can I have a mover and seconder? Councillor Anderson, Councillor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Moving on to Public Works staff reports, PWSR 2/2025 respecting the cemetery tractor mower replacement. Mr. Nan, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. Before you is Public Works Staff Report 002-2025. As council is aware, staff included the replacement of the current 2014 cemetery tractor and mower during the capital budget deliberations. Cemetery Department manages and maintains 7 active cemeteries and 3 additional inactive cemeteries. In total, it maintains approximately 31.5 acres, and this is performed by the use of a zero-turn mower, a larger compact tractor, which is on the agenda tonight, and the remainder is performed with push mowers, trimmers to maintain the aesthetics of the property. The current 2014 tractor mower has reached its life cycle, and costs for maintenance and replacement parts will continue to escalate in future. Staff reviewed the possibility of upsizing the mower deck to reduce the time of mowing, but found that in various areas in multiple cemeteries, there's just not enough room for the larger mower decks. Staff reached out to various compact tractor and mower suppliers in accordance with our procurement policy and received 3 quotations, and a recommendation is included in the report. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you. So I have a motion that PWSR 2-2025 respecting the cemetery tractor mower replacement be received, and that council direct the manager of operations to award the purchase of the cemetery tractor mower to Berg Equipment. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Van Fleet, Councillor Gilmore, any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay, moving on to PWSR 3-2025, respecting the ice resurfacer replacement. Mr. Nan, once again, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. This staff report refers to the replacement of our current 2008 ice resurfacer. As indicated in the report, the current ice resurfacer was scheduled for replacement in 2020, but was refurbished to extend its service life. The maintenance and replacements of components will steadily increase in future and not replaced at this, if not replaced at this time. Staff reached out to multiple suppliers in accordance with the township's procurement policy and found that only one single supplier met the specifications required for the size of machine required to maintain the current ice surface size, which is significantly smaller than a standard size arena pad. Staff decided to seek additional savings by utilizing the canoe procurement, and in so finding an additional 3% savings on the quoted price. I'm available for questions at this time.
Thank you. So I have a motion that PWSR 3-2025 respecting the ice resurfacer replacement be received, and that council direct the manager of operations to award the purchase of the Model 450 electric lithium-ion ice resurfacer to Zamboni. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Van Fleet, Councillor Anderson, any discussion? Councillor Gilmore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Richard, I know I asked you this before, but what's the delivery time on, I assume you'll order this immediately, what's the delivery?
It depends what time you ask. Last week or the week before, we're probably looking at a few months for delivery. And it depends on when we get the orders in and as compared to how many orders they've received in the meantime. So unfortunately, I can't give you that time frame at this moment.
So it'll be no problem for the...
We should have no problem
fall.
having it for the fall season.
Any other discussion? Councillor Van Fleet, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Richard, just a quick note. I think I touched on this before. Did we get a sponsor of who's going to wrap it?
Through your worship to all of council, we did have one for the previous Zamboni. And when we order this one, we'll start the process for the new, getting quotes for the new advertising to be put on the Zamboni.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed, and that is carried. Okay, moving on to PWSR 4-2025, respecting the request for storage containers. Mr. Nan, can you please provide a brief overview of your report?
Thank you, Your Worship and members of council. Oh, excuse me. My last report this evening is a follow-up from a previous staff report, and it's for the request of storage from the Agricultural Society. And now on your agenda this evening is another request from the Minor Soccer Association. As the report suggests, staff can only suggest the installation of multiple units being requested to be placed at the end of the laneway between the soccer fields and the baseball diamonds. Additionally, staff would like to establish standardized storage container requirements and be able to collaborate with legal to negotiate and finalize nominal lease agreements with the requested user groups and to coordinate with them as we proceed. Staff are open to any suggestions or comments and are available for questions at this time.
Thank you, Richard. So I have a motion that PWSR for 2025 respecting the request for storage containers be received, and that council direct the manager of operations to offer a space at the end of the laneway between the soccer field and baseball diamonds for use and placement of storage containers to the requesting user groups, and that council further direct the manager of operations to establish standardized storage container requirements and collaborate with legal to negotiate and finalize nominal lease agreements with the requested user groups. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councilor Van Fleet? Councilor Anderson, any discussion? Councilor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor. Richard, just a point of sort of clarification for me. What kind of footing or bed or setting would these containers be put on?
Through your worship, to the councilor, this will be done through the building department. So there is a building permit requirement for the placement of these, and they, you know, the idea is to work with all the user groups to submit a single drawing, because basically the foundation agreements, as far as it goes, are going to be the same for all the containers. So there's no sense getting 7 or 6 sets of drawings for the same thing. But they don't necessarily require a concrete base. They could be placed on stone, but whatever the foundation is will have to be an engineered foundation and approved by the building department.
Through you, Mayor, if I might continue. Could you just explain the mechanics to me on weight and sinkage, which may or may not be determined on the volume that they're going to put in those? So is there a point where the weight becomes an issue on a, you know, gravel bed versus a cement base?
Through your worship, to Councillor, there will be a foundation that'll be placed. If it's on stone, for instance, every foundation must meet a certain criteria on the Procter & Gamble scale to make sure that it'll take the weight. So the compaction of that granular will have to meet certain compaction tests to ensure that it doesn't settle. Part of the other issue, obviously, is the drainage, to make sure that there's proper drainage so it doesn't affect it as well.
I may continue through you, Mayor. So would it be feasible, or is it just my overthinking the fact that maybe contained within the gravel bed, area, that maybe you have 2 or 3 runs of the cement sort of ground level pilings, so that you can tilt them for drainage if they themselves get water influence and stuff? You understand what I'm asking? Sort of.
Not exactly. But
Okay, so if you have 50 square feet of gravel,
yeah.
Is there any rationale to running a couple of 2-foot wide sort of cement ground piers for them to rest upon, such as you would maybe in a building foundation on funny soil?
Yeah, I understand now. And I guess that'll be a question for the engineers who design the foundation. If they approve and it's consistent with the weight, the capacities for just granular, then that's what the building department will obviously review. But if they're concerned about weight, obviously the engineers may design a structure like you suggested, like a pier structure. But again, that'll be up to the building department to review the drawings from the engineer.
And just one further question, Richard. When we're sort of putting items that we're not solely in control of on our property, is there any sort of forward-thinking liability protection that the soil around these structures are soil sampled for pollutants?
Through your worship, to the member of council and all of council, yes, there are going to be some standards that we're going to be making qualifications for. We're also going to be making sure that the lease agreements run through our legal department, and that's one of the considerations we will have for any potential contaminants or anything that may be part of this unit. For instance, lead paint and some of the other things that are potentials. But there will be a set of criteria that they'll all need to meet in order to bring them here to ensure the safety of our property.
Through you, Mayor. Thank you yet again, Richard. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilor Van Fleet, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we all know how much I love these things. Are they going to be painted nicely, and in your picture here, there's 6 of them. Is there one out there now or 2?
Through your worship, currently there's 2 trailers and 1 sea container. One of the trailers belongs to the Volunteer Firefighter Association, one belongs to the Agricultural Society, and the sea container that's currently there belongs to Marshville. So there's multiple, plus now the addition of 3, the replacement. So the one trailer is going to be replaced by 3 sea containers for the Agricultural Society.
Okay.
And now additional one that's going to be requested this evening in your correspondence from the Soccer Association. So we're going to end up with 6 if they all decide to continue to move forward with the project.
Yeah, so through the mayor to all of council, this staff direction is just giving us the opportunity to meet with the user groups to see who's interested. So the board, the Egg Society will have to take it back to their board to determine if that location is acceptable to them. So they might not come on board. We just drew 6 because that's the existing and the current requests that we have, but it might not end up being 6. And once we meet with the user groups, see who is interested in pursuing and proceeding and agree to the cost, then that would also determine what size of a pad we need and what the material is, because it might end up being that it's just soccer and the volunteer firefighters. It might end up being just soccer. We're not sure what that looks like because we don't have commitments or agreements or financial commitments from any of the groups yet, because this project is not going on the levy. Like, it will not cost the taxpayers any money. The user groups will be funding it solely.
So my next question is, do we have a limit, or do we just do request by request? Like, is it unlimited space? Because there's a number of user groups. I think I said this a few months back, but hey.
Through your worship, I guess any additional units, if council requests us to come back for those requests, then we can come back on a case-by-case basis. Currently, there is 6 that are interested, whether it's pursued or not. That's as our CAO has mentioned. But I suppose any further ones, I would suggest we come back and review it if council so deems it that way.
Okay, thanks.
Councillor Gilmore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Richard, are we improving the roadway from the edge of the track on the west to the front of the containers and the pad? Who's improving that and paying for it?
Through your worship to Councillor Gilmore, well, currently, I mean, we've had a lot of soil that was brought in, and we will have to be cleaning up, or at least cleaning up the area where the containers are going to go. As far as digging the foundations and that'll be the responsibility of them. But we will clean up the laneway and add granular to the laneway portion to make sure that's all cleaned up to the area that they're going to be placed.
So the area at the end of that track, that's all going to be gravel at the township's expense?
Through the laneway portion. We're not going to go as wide all the way to the track, but we will make sure that the laneway will be at our expense because we have some cleanup to do with the soil anyway.
Any other discussion? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
It's just a point of clarity. I don't know if we'll ever be asked, but people are always concerned about, containers and lead, et cetera. I'm of the understanding, and I would be not unsurprised to be corrected, but I believe that historically lead was put in paint to make it dry harder and faster. And so then, EPA went to no more lead, boo, 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 it's a problem. So then we went to latex. But I do believe that a lot of containers, overseas containers and or other containers, they may be a base lead paint initially, but I believe that they're oversprayed with latex. So I don't know if you've looked at that, but I couldn't find too much information on it.
Yeah. Through your worship, one of the criteria in the standardization we've talked about that'll be included is to ensure that no lead paint can seep from these containers. If that means that the potential is there, they'll be required to sandblast it and repaint them. We don't want any potential of contaminants on our property.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, I will call a question. All in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Okay, we're going to move into review of correspondence. We have 2 items of correspondence on the agenda for consideration this evening. Correspondence item C053 respecting the Wainfleet Youth Soccer Storage request. This request relates to the last staff report. Basically, we'll just make a motion as to whether or not to approve this request. So can I have a mover or seconder? Or do we need a motion? No. So just to consider it with all user groups? Okay, so just continue on? Okay, all right. Okay, all right. I guess we don't need to make a motion for it, so. Okay, so then we'll just move into item B, correspondence item C054, respecting the request to pave Green Road North. Councillor Van Fleet, you requested to pull this item of correspondence. Do you wish to make a motion?
I do, Mr. Mayor. Richard, I know that you answered the email. I'm wondering if we could just make a motion to, for staff to bring back what the cost would be for this. So Mr. Hillebin can have a little bit of an idea of what the cost would be to do this, because he is losing money. I mean, it's potential a little bit higher level vehicles that are going down there to look at, granite or whatever it is he's selling down there. But I think that, could we get a staff report saying what the cost would be, and we'll go from there?
Through your worship, I can definitely, if council wants me to come back with a report, I will basically create several options for the cost. Obviously, because of the type of traffic with the transports being involved and the heavy granite, it'll have to be upgraded to a higher level than just a tar and chip surface, for instance. So I will have a couple options available, and I'll come back with a report if council so wishes.
Thanks, Richard. I'd like that.
Seeing, Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
I'd just like to state the opinion for the record that this is falling, we're all aware of that, this is falling outside of budget, which has already been done. As in correspondence, Richard, we do have a road study that prioritizes when and how we should do roads, et cetera. So I believe that we're fulfilling rather than a municipal request, I think we're looking at fulfilling a personal request, and I take issue to that.
Okay, I'll call a question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, and that is carried. Okay, moving into bylaws. We have no bylaws on the agenda for consideration this evening. Are there any notices of motion this evening? Seeing none. Okay, so then I have a motion that council now move into closed session to discuss an item under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act 2001, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. One item, a human resources update. And B, item under section 239(2)I of the Municipal Act 2001, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. One item, an agreement matter. And then the third item will be the minutes of the closed meeting of council held January 14th, 2025. Can I have a mover? Councillor Van Fleet? Councillor Anderson. So we'll now move into closed. Oh, call the question. All in favor. Sorry. Opposed, and that is carried. So now we will move into closed.